Hello, lifers. Welcome back to the Live the Life podcast. I am your host, Eric Aroca. Hey, it is been a little bit, I feel like. So, unfortunately, I did not record an episode this past week due to the fact that I just was not feeling well. I was sick. Congested, and I sounded horrible. I probably sounded worse than I felt, but I was just like, you know what? I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it, and so I decided not to record last week. So I apologize to you guys for that, but hey, here we are, ready to roll, feeling much better, so we can go ahead and get started. As by way of an update for you, the release of the rewrite for the Live the Life book is ongoing. I just shipped it. I just shipped off my last copy. Dang, I was gonna say it's usually right here behind me, but I just literally shipped off the last copy. So it is really close to being finished. We're just putting the final touches on it, and it could be as soon as next week. And I know I've said that a couple of times already, but it could be as soon as next week that it is finally ready to roll out and get out to you guys. So appreciate your patience on that. And I will, hopefully by the next podcast, we'll have good news, and we will be releasing the rewrite for the Live the Life You've Always Imagined book. So a little bit of that there. What else has happened, Sophie? Anything else happened that's exciting? Not yet. Well, a few weeks ago, I was involved in a storytelling contest for NSA, which is the National Speakers Association. I'm here in the Houston chapter, and I won our competition for our chapter, so I go on to represent regional. So that will take place May 16th. If I am selected as one of the participants or one of the winners, that will advance to the next phase. The next phase will be at the national convention in July. So wish me luck. I will be probably putting some final touches, fine tuning my story and getting it out for the competition. So it should be really fun. I'm looking forward to that, and we'll see what happens where that goes. All right, so we are now talking about, we talked a little bit about in the Lost podcast about the importance of building a winning culture. And we talked about the 3 pillars that I have identified to being able to build a winning culture. And that is leadership, communication, and values. So for today's podcast, for today's episode, we are going to focus on leadership. I feel like leadership is the most important piece in the 3 pillars. I guess the old question always comes up of, are leaders born or are they made? I don't think it's clear cut either one. I don't think you can say, oh, they're all made. No, they're born. I think it's probably a mix of the two. I do believe that some people are born with innate leadership qualities, while others are able to learn those qualities or those skills given the right training, the right atmosphere. They're able to learn those skills and then become effective leaders because of that. So I think it's a combination of the two, definitely. And so that's kind of where I stand on that old age question of, are leaders made or are they born? So I'd love to hear what you think, where you fall on that. So go ahead and put down in the comments and see what I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. But hey, you know what? I'm wondering, if I drink enough Coke Zero, let me do this right. If I do enough Coke Zero, do you think that Coke will sponsor me?
Maybe.
That would be freaking awesome, right? All right, for those of you guys who don't know, I drink a S-ton of Coke Zero, okay? And I am unapologetic about it. Water tastes like dirt. So, all right, leadership. Let's talk about leadership really fast. Not really fast. Let's take our time. Leaders should lead from the front. That means that leaders should be the example. They should be the standard bearer for their culture. A few weeks ago, for those of you who don't know, I'm backtracking. Sorry, just how it is on an uncut version of the podcast. A few weeks ago, well, let me go back. I gotta go back again. My brain is just not working. Maybe that head cold is still messing with me. Okay, what I wanted to say was that, and I actually forgot what I wanted to say. Does that ever happen to you guys? Oh my gosh. Okay, now be serious. Let's be serious. All right. I like Sophie's little snickering laugh in the background always just cracks me up. So I hope you guys. I hope that the microphone is picking up her laugh, because that's what makes me laugh. I don't think I'm not funny. Her laugh just really makes me laugh. Okay. I don't even know where I was, so we're just gonna forget. Just clean slate. Here we go. All right. So leaders lead from the front. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say now. I have been substitute teaching, you guys, for about, well, I think I started in December, somewhere November, December timeframe. I started substitute teaching because I'm using that as research for a book that will be coming out in 2026. So probably latter part of 2026. And it's going to be all about building culture. So there's 2 books coming out. One is building culture in the classroom / schools. And then one that is just an overall building winning cultures for organizations. Okay. But I'm dividing those out because I want to be very, very specific for the education and for the corporate world. I don't want to really blend the two. So that's where we're at. So I've been using substitute teaching as a method and an opportunity for me to go and see culture, not only from different schools, whether it be elementary, middle schools, junior highs, high schools, but also in individual classrooms. And so that prompted a conversation that I had with a teacher as I walked into his classroom to substitute teach. He was in junior high, and he was a social studies teacher. And so he's giving me the rundown in the morning of what he would like to have me do with the students, the assignments, what they're working on, what have you, right? He's giving me the rundown. And I'm like, hey, no worries, I got you. You go do whatever you need to take care of. I got this. And then we kind of got into a little bit of a conversation about, he said some really interesting things. He pointed out to me that he said, like, 3rd period and 4th period are my trouble periods. They're a bunch of troublemakers. They're a little bit, well, they're just lazy. They don't get their work done. You constantly have to be on them. And I was like, well, that's curious. Why would you call your students lazy? As we continued in that conversation, he mentioned, without any promise for me, which I thought was awesome, he said, I'm kind of lazy. I'm a lazy teacher. And I thought, well, attitude reflects leadership, bro. Right? Like, hey, they're taking a cue from you. They're getting their laziness from you. They're not inherently lazy because they're junior high kids or because they're in your class. They're lazy because you're lazy. Because if you label yourself as a lazy teacher, as a disengaged teacher, then your students are going to be disengaged. They're going to be lazy. So you're basically, attitude reflects leadership. I think that says it best, right? That's the old quote from the movie Remember the Titans. Attitude does reflect leadership. So if you want your students, if you're in the classroom, or you want your team in your organization, if you want them to be get it done kind of a team, you want them to be productive, well, then you have to have that mindset. You have to show the example. You have to be the person who sets the standard of, hey, we're going to be a get it done type of organization. Hey, we're going to be on top of stuff. We're going to be productive. We're not just going to be busy. We're going to be productive. Hey, we value people. Whatever the deal is, you set the standard. It starts with you as the leader. That's just how culture works. Culture never works from the bottom up. It's always from the top down. So you as the leader are responsible for setting your culture. And I think that's really, really important, because his comment really took me by surprise to think that a teacher would just, I've never met him before. This is our first conversation ever. And he's telling me that he is a lazy teacher. And I said, well, I said, hey, I mean no offense by this. I said, but if you're labeling yourself lazy, what do you think the outcome is going to be with your students? Of course they're going to be lazy. You're the one giving them permission. You're the one setting the standard for how things are going to work in your class. So it starts with you. And that's true in any organization. I don't care if you're in a sales organization, if you're in our HR team, whatever organization you're in, it starts with the owner of the business. That can trickle down, right? Because like I said, it's from the top down. So it's going to be the president, CEO. And then it trickles down to all the other O's, right? The CFO, the COO, the CTO, whatever. Then it trickles down to maybe your senior vice presidents, depending on the structure of your organization. Or it trickles down to your directors, and then down to your managers, then down to your team leads, then down to your staff. Okay? That's typically how it works. So it starts with the main leader. Setting the standard for how you want that particular culture in the organization to look like. So starts with you. I think that we need to probably define leadership now. But before we define it, let's talk about what leadership is not. Leadership is not intimidation. I hate to break it to some of you, but it is not intimidation. It is not domination. It is not about position or titles. You may have the position, you may have the title, but it is not about those things. Too many times I've been involved with leaders, and let's just face it, you're probably involved at your work right now, and you probably have a leader who is a little bit intimidating or dominating, or make it all about them, right? And we don't do anything about it. We just, hey, we're collecting a paycheck. I gotta have this job. I got bills to pay. I got a mortgage. I get it. I totally understand that. But there's gotta come a point where we say, I don't have to put up with this. I need to go find somewhere that has better leadership. And if you're at that point, you have my full support. I'm going to give you the green flag to put in your 2 weeks and go find something else. Go find a place that has good leadership. I think we all know when we see it, we know it. When we see good leadership, we just know it. It feels right. It feels like an anchor point. It feels like you're tied to something substantial, something good. This week, in fact, today, I posted a picture of some ropes of I don't know what you call it, a tie down, a tie up, for like a large ship. And I took this picture in Athens, Greece, and I'm trying to pull it up for you guys, so hang tight with me. Anyway, and I thought, when I walked by it, I was like, I was at the waterfront. The Mediterranean is right there. It was just, it was just incredibly beautiful. It was so awesome. But I thought, okay, you know what? This is kind of um, what it reminded me of leadership, because I think if we tie into it, it becomes very anchoring, and there's a lot of strength, I feel like, when we have good leaders. So I'll just show you that. I don't know if that's coming up or not. Alexi, Sophie's giving me the thumbs up, so I'm putting it up right there. So if you see this on social media, go ahead and take a read, take a look at it. But I thought those ropes were pretty awesome. I mean, they're pretty massive, and they were just tied with intention. Like somebody was intentional about the method that they used to tie that down. And I think as leaders, we have to be that as well. We have to be intentional. So with that said, I think that a definition of leadership is past due. So let's talk about that. There are many great definitions that you can find out there on the internet. If you look at Harvard Business Review, if you go through that journal, by the way, if you're not reading Harvard Business Review, I highly recommend it. They do some great articles on building a winning culture. So I highly recommend that as a journal for you. And it's not that expensive to subscribe to. So pick one up if you can. Okay, so you can find great definitions all over. This is the definition that I've been working on probably for about, I would say it's been about 4 years, maybe 5 years, that I've really been working with this definition. And I think I've got it down pretty good. I think we're at a kind of a stopping point. I think we're at a point where this is my definition of leadership moving forward. I don't think I'm going to play with it after this. So my definition of leadership is that leadership is the art of demonstrating empathy while inspiring others to reach their fullest potential. I'm going to read that again. Leadership is the art of demonstrating empathy while inspiring others to reach their full potential. Okay. As I thought about this definition, and I thought about putting this together of what I really thought leadership was all about, the word empathy kept coming to me. And I just thought, you know what? If you're going to be a leader, it has to start with empathy. There's lots of great characteristics. There's lots of great adjectives that we can use to describe leaders. But in my opinion, empathy is at the very top. I feel that if you're a leader and you do not demonstrate, you do not show empathy on a regular basis, I just don't think you can be as effective as a leader as you could be if you were demonstrating or showing that empathy towards the people that you lead. I think it's very, very important not to ever forget, that the most important thing in leadership is people. It's not whatever tasks you're involved in. It's not your project. It's not whatever it is you're trying to achieve. It's not your sales numbers for sure. It's people. If you're a leader, you are in the people business. I say this to people, to leaders all the time when I go and do seminars or workshops or keynotes. I always ask them, I say, so what business are you in? And they'll say, oh, I'm in the rehab recovery business, or I am in the HVAC business, or I am in the car industry, or I am in the oil and gas industry. And I just say, you're not. you're in the people business. You are in the business of people because you are a leader. It's your greatest commodity. It is the thing that should trump everything else. Everything else. People trump everything. And as a leader, it starts with empathy. And I think that if you can show empathy, you will become a more effective leader. I see this on a daily basis. Several years ago, when I started teaching, when I was teaching in high school, I was teaching at what do they call it? An alternative high school. And for those of you who aren't up with all the lingo in education, basically alternative high school means that they've taken all the kids that just, for one reason or another, couldn't make it in a traditional high school setting. They've created and built special high schools in districts where they send all these kids to, and they kind of label them last chance kids, the troubled kids. You find the negative label, that's what's on these kids, okay? And I will say that they're kids, right? These aren't like 21, 22-year-olds, which are kind of kids in my book because I'm so old, but these are literally 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. I don't think any of them wake up in the morning and say, oh, how am I going to ruin my teacher's life today, right? I think they're all dealing with different things. I was dealing with kids who were couch surfing. And for those of you who don't know what that is, basically they were homeless and they lived from couch to couch to couch if, whatever friend's parents allowed them to sleep on their couch. I'm sorry, but if you're a teenager, that's one of the things that you should never have to worry about is where you're gonna, rest your head that night. That's just me though, right? We had kids who had, learning disabilities as an example, whether they had Tourette's or, maybe autism, or we had kids that for one reason or another, they just couldn't function in a traditional high school. There wasn't really anything wrong with them. They just couldn't function as well in that traditional setting. So they needed a different setting in order for them to succeed. And for the large part, they were very successful. So I was always puzzled that people would name them, place these negative labels on these kids. I took a different approach in my teaching them in my classroom. I treated them like I would want to be treated, kind of following the golden rule, right? Oftentimes, well, not often, every day I would wear a dress shirt, tie, and I wore a sport coat every single day without fail. And the question would always come up, why do you dress like that? Why do you dress, why do you come to teach high school in a jacket and tie? It's overkill. And I would ask them, well, why do you think I do it? And they would say, oh, because you like it. Or some of them would Google me, right? Which is the big thing. And when you get to junior high and high school, hey, I see all the kids all the time Googling me, and they're like, hey, you got a podcast? Hey, you're the Walking Fashion Show? And for those of you who don't know, it's been brought up in a few episodes already that yes, I do own a style/fashion consulting agency. It is called the Walking Fashion Show, so you can find it on social media platforms. Anyway, so they would say, oh, you're the Walking Fashion Show. I see your website, or I see your Instagram or your TikToks and stuff there. And I'd say, yeah, well, I do like it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I do it, but that's not the primary reason why I dress that way. So they would ask me, of course, well, then why do you do it, Mr. Aroca? And I would say, because the way that I am dressed, this is the level of respect that you deserve. Now, I want you to think about that. this is the level of respect that you deserve. That's why I wear a coat and tie to come teach high school. Can I just tell you that I didn't have any problems with these kids? These are the same kids, by the way, who are acting up, who are misbehaving, who are calling female teachers the C word, okay? These are the same kids, but in my classroom, they never acted out. Why? Because I'm not dressed like one of them. And I firmly believe that if you dress like them, they will treat you like one of them. So I show up in a coat and tie. This is the level of respect that you deserve. Guess what I get in return? I get respect. I don't get anybody acting up in class. I don't get anybody flying off with F-bombs or whatever other kind of bombs there are, in the English language. They're just well-behaved kids. And we can learn together, and we can have a good time together and build relationships. I have a relationship with some of these kids still, and it's been 5, 6, 7 years. I think it's been even more than that since I've taught high school. And I still get texts, I still get emails, or what have you from these kids giving me an update on their lives. That's pretty awesome. It starts with the leader. I was the leader. I wasn't the leader of the school, but I was the leader of my classroom. You might be the leader of your sales team. You might be the leader of your team at work. You might be the manager. You're the leader. If you're a leader, it starts with you. You have to set the standard. Again, attitude reflects leadership. Remember what I said? I address this way because this is the level of respect that you deserve. Attitude reflects leadership. Okay? Anyway, so that's just a little bit of information for you on the leadership side of things. I've had in my career, I can't count how many managers, senior vice presidents, what have you I've had. It's been too many. There's too many to count. But I can definitely tell you that there's been three leaders that I highly respect to this day. 3. In almost 30 years, there's been 3. That goes to tell you how much work we have to do when it comes to leadership. How much work there's still to be done. How much more training, education we need to provide to our current leaders, to people who are coming up in the business who want to be leaders. Getting a degree does not make you a leader. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I don't care if you have an MBA. I don't give a crap if you have a doctorate. I just don't freaking care. It doesn't make you a leader. If you're a VP of sales, if you're a senior vice president, if you're a director, if you're in middle management, having the title, having all the experience in the world does not make you a leader. A leader is someone who demonstrates empathy in order to inspire others to reach their full potential. That's what leadership is. So I've had leaders before where I can remember one time working for a medical device company, and I'm not going to tell you what the name of the medical device company is, but if you go to my LinkedIn bio, you can figure it out pretty fast. Okay, so I was working for this large conglomerate med device company, and I was working probably their smallest division. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what division that was because that would be too easy for you. That would be like totally giving it away. And if you want to know, I want you to go dig a little bit. All right? Make you work for it. Anyway, so I had a sales we were wasn't a sales conference. It was just a sales meeting where we had to give these different presentations. One of the presentations that we had to give was on kind of like the overall health of our territory. And then we had to pick one or two opportunities in the territory, and we would present the opportunity to the other leaders in the room and to my colleagues, okay? So we would present those opportunities, and then they could give us feedback and say, well, have you tried doing this? Have you tried doing that? Have you thought about, whatever, right? And it was just, I guess, a kind of a way to brainstorm, sort of, to give you some additional ideas of things that maybe you hadn't thought of trying, to go from just a potential, opportunity to, hey, an actual sales and being able to close on that opportunity. So I took the time to get my presentation ready. Our presentations, before we delivered them, had to be approved by our, I guess they call them regional managers, okay? So we had to send them, email those to them like a week or 2 weeks in advance. So I did that. I got my email back saying, hey, you're approved if you make these 2 changes. I made the 2 changes that were requested. So I thought, all my ducks are in a row. I've got my presentation ready to roll. So now it's just a matter of presenting it at the meeting. So I go to the meeting. The day comes. I think the first couple of days or the first day, it's just like general business and state of the industry and those type of things. And then it's down to the nitty gritty. You divide up into these huge, working rooms, and you basically get PowerPointed to death because it's literally one PowerPoint after another, as all of us sales reps have an opportunity to get up and give our presentation. So it's finally my turn. I get up, present. I think it's going pretty well. I get to, I present on my overall territory, like the health of my territory, kind of an update overall on my territory. Things are going pretty well. And then I dive into my first opportunity. And the opportunity was solid. The data that I had provided was solid. I was interrupted by a senior vice president of sales. Very, very rudely. And basically questioned me on everything that I had presented about this opportunity. He even asked me who had approved it. And I said, well, my manager approved it. He's sitting right next to you. He approved it 2 weeks ago, and that's why I'm presenting this information. It's a viable opportunity. It makes sense. This is what it's worth to the organization. This is what I've done to this point, blah, blah, blah. And he was just extremely rude. So rude that I was kind of taken aback by his rudeness, his unprofessionalism. You could have heard a pin drop because this guy was literally just going off. Okay. I kept making eye contact with my manager, and he wasn't going to stick up for me because I think he was worried about his own butt, but he even had a little bit of a surprised look on his face. I remember that after the meeting, I remember just being in the hallway and just thinking, what the hell was that? Like, what happened? Like, what just happened? And then I would have colleagues come up to me and say, hey, that's just Mark being Mark. Hey, Mark got up on the wrong side of the bed. Hey, Mark. Okay. and they'd pat you on the back or tap you on the shoulder. You know Mark. And I thought, yeah, I'm getting to know Mark more and more, and basically he's an a-hole, right? I really couldn't believe that he would treat another person like that. And like I said, leadership is not domination, is not intimidation. If that's the type of leader you are, you're really not a leader. You're just a workplace bully, right? And I think that you need to be put in your place by someone in the organization. And actually, I think you need to just be demoted, if not terminated. Sounds kind of harsh, maybe, but I don't think there's any room for you as a leader in any organization if you lead with intimidation and domination. That was definitely the case with Mark. He was that type of leader. I had another encounter with a leader who I just started with the company. My very first meeting, in preparation for our meeting, this was a virtual, so this is after COVID, and virtual is everything, right? That's the only way we could meet. So we have this virtual call. I've prepped with my manager. I'm brand new to the company. I've been with the company for 3 days, and she is basically saying, hey, this is your baby. This is your project. This is all the information I have up to this point. I really need you to take it, run with it, and, present it, blah, blah, blah. So I did all that. I did my due diligence, did my homework, got all the information. She was super happy with everything. I get there and I start presenting it, and I tell you what, I got 30 seconds into my presentation, and that's pretty much the last words I spoke, because every time I tried to speak, the CEO or the president of the company that we were presenting to, he would just interrupt me, and then he would talk over me, and basically he'd go on, a diatribe for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then I would try and say something again, and he would do the same thing over and over and over again. So finally, I just stopped talking, and he said, well, what else do you have for me? Like, what other information do you have? And I said, I'm happy to send you an email on everything else that I have. In fact, everything that I had prepared for this meeting to present to you, I will put it in an email and send it out to you. I will no longer be speaking at this meeting because you've talked over me the entire time. I have not been able to present. I have not had the freedom to talk about and present what I have prepared for you, because you consistently interrupt me, you consistently talk over me, and you're not interested in anything I have to say. So I will send you the information in an email. You can, at that point, figure out what you need out of that information, or what have you. And you can tell my boss, you can tell my manager will tell me, and we'll go. That's what we'll do. I think he was shocked. I know my boss was shocked, because she told me after we hung up on that call that no one had ever talked to him that way before. But you know what? I'm not putting up with it. I'm just not going to. I am not going to put up with it. And I don't think you need to put up with it either. And I think too many times we put up with it because we feel like, oh, I need this job. Hey, I got a mortgage. Hey, I don't want to rock the boat. But the reality of it is, if you don't do it, then who's going to? No one. And then you're just feeding a culture of whatever. You're feeding a negative culture, right? So put in your 2 weeks, because that leader isn't going anywhere. The company decided to promote that guy or lady, that person. They're not going anywhere. Unless they screw up something major, they're going to be in that position for a while. So you're better off putting in your 2 weeks and going somewhere else. Because you're not going to be able to affect the culture in a positive way at all. You can try, but you're just going to be more frustrated. The more you try, the more frustration that will build in. So that's my 2 cents on what you should do. So for all of our leaders out there, hey, start with empathy. See things from a different perspective. See things from the perspective of the people that you are leading. I definitely want you guys to be able to, when you look behind you, to see who's there, who you're leading. I want you to be able to see your team there. Because if you look behind you and there's no one there, you're not leading anybody. Right? You're just not. So make sure that you're inspiring people. Make sure that you're removing obstacles, helping people to be successful, to win in however they can win in your organization. Help them to be successful. Show them empathy. They will show you in return a great deal of empathy. Remember what we said at the onset, that attitude reflects leadership. So the more you turn to a positive role model, the more that you are inspiring, the more you show empathy, well, guess what? Then you're going to have people who are inspired. You're going to have people who demonstrate empathy to you. Because I got to tell you, you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes as a leader. And you definitely want people to have empathy towards you, right? But they're not going to have empathy towards you if you never show them the same courtesy. So start with empathy. Leadership starts with empathy. You can inspire no one until you've shown empathy. That's why our definition says leadership is the art of demonstrating empathy while inspiring others to reach their full potential. It starts there. It starts with you. Okay? But remember, even though it starts with you, it's not about you. It's about the people you lead. Remember that you are in the people business. That's why if you're going to build a successful culture, that's why it's so important that you are a good leader, that you have these type of qualities, that you're going to trainings, that you're listening to podcasts, that you're reading books, that you're constantly trying to improve your ability to lead, to inspire other people. If you're doing that, hey, hats off to you. I'm proud of you. I want you to keep going, keep doing those things, because it will pay off. And like I said, I think the greatest compliment to a leader is that when you look back, you got people there, right? One of the leaders that I had at a company, I told her all the time, I would say to her, hey, I will follow you anywhere. That's the type of leader she was. She fought for me. I wasn't necessarily always right, but come hell or high water, she fought for me. She was on my side. That does not mean that we didn't have difficult conversations and that she didn't tell me, hey, this will not happen again or whatever, right? Hey, I messed up too. But she was the type of leader that would say, hey, you know what? I have to go report on this issue. I'm taking it on me. It's my problem. It's my fault. It starts and stops with me. Your name will never come up. I will own it. And she was so quick to own anything negative that happened on our team. If we missed any sales marks, if we missed quota, if we lost a client or what have you, she never once pointed the finger at anyone on her team. She pointed the finger at herself and said, it's my fault. I lost the client. It's me. And in return, anytime that we had success, we closed a big deal, we closed a new client, we hit our quota. Anytime we had any kind of success on our team, guess what she was very quick to do? Give the credit where the credit is due, where the credit belongs. to her team. She never once said, oh yeah, I did this. I'm responsible for this client. I'm responsible for you hitting your quota. She would just say, that's on you guys. Great job. And she was our cheerleader. She was there to congratulate us. She was there to help remove obstacles so that we could be successful in whatever setting we were in. That's a great leader. That's what I would always, this is why I would always tell her, I will follow you anywhere. I kid you not, if she called me tomorrow and said, hey, Eric, I have a spot for you on my team, I'm going. I'm going to go work for her. Don't worry, I'm still going to do the podcast. It's all good, right? Right, so? Still good, all right? But that's the kind of leader that you should be, that you should strive to be. That if you leave the company and you have an opportunity to hire people, hey, you want to definitely go poach your people and say, hey, come work for me. And you want them to say, heck yeah, I'll follow you. I'll go where you're going. That's what you want. I think that's the greatest compliment you could have as a leader, is when people are willing to follow you anywhere. So be that type of leader. So remember that if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, to become more, then you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. That's what it is. It fits perfectly, that quote fits perfectly with the definition of leadership that I came up with, right? So make sure that you are inspiring others. Make sure that your actions, that the actions that you take on a daily basis, that they truly are inspiring others to greatness, to help people reach their full potential. So with that, I will tell you next week, we will be talking about the importance of the second pillar, which is communication. That's going to be a good one. Lots of information to share with you on that. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like what you've heard, please help us grow. Subscribe, share, like, comment, do all those things, and we can continue on with future podcasts, future episodes, and love sharing with you guys. Love sharing with you some of the experiences that I've had over the years and the things that I've learned in this space of building a winning culture that lasts. So tell your friends about us. Love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts that have come to you on leadership and how it pertains to building culture, or just any thoughts that you have on leadership at all, put it down in the comments. Love to read those. I will answer all of your questions if you have any, and I would just love to hear from you and learn from you as well. So this is a two-way street. Every time you guys make a great comment, it gives me an opportunity to learn from you. So with that said, just remember again that if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, then you are a leader. With that said, hey, don't forget to go out and live the life you've always imagined.